Hello everyone. I have a glass of wine. It's nearly the end of the year. Didn't have loads and loads of sleep last night, so I've not been chessing very well today. Kind of bounced under 1500 a couple of times, and I think I managed to bounce back. But time for a video. So I have been submitted a few games, and this is one of them that I think came from our Chess Bootcamp Club battle the other day. We had an arena, and this is all 15 plus 10 unrated, and I've got, with the white pieces, Elite Jonathan 81 is rated 989, and with the black pieces, Hey Bye Bye, rated 1967, so almost 1,000 points of difference. Okay, so we'll just go through it and we'll see what we get. We have d4 from Jonathan, d4, d5, accelerated London. Out comes the bishop to f4. Now, what we're going to see? Okay, copycat. Copycat against the London. e3, e6, c4 from Jonathan now. So kind of breaking out of this a bit. It's kind of nice because you're challenging for the centre, and you've done it before. Black has managed to get c5 in to challenge you, but okay, so black just reinforces the pyramid. So we have a regular London setup from black, really, in the mirror image. White may play the knight out here, we don't know, let us see. Okay, queen out now. It's unorthodox because, I mean, this king will want to castle at some point soon, and you've still got 3 minor pieces still undeveloped. I think knight f3 here would have been perfectly good, trying to jump into the c5 square. So what's the idea with this? Because the thing is, this pawn here, we're attacking it once, twice, but it's defended 3 times already. So what's the plan? I think the plan is actually, yes, we're attacking b7, but now black can just play queen b6, and then we have tension between the ladies. Okay, queen b6. And tension. And no one really wants to be the one to capture, because then the opponent gets to, recapture with the pawn towards the centre and open up the semi-open file for their rook. Okay, so we have c5 now from white. Queen cannot advance. Queen could trade off, but this isn't on. That is, this check is possible. Black plays trade, and then a takes b3, obvs, and out comes the knight. Now, both kings have the same problem, which is a total lack of development of the minor pieces on the king side. So, don't know how we rate this so far. Everyone's been playing pretty quick. Both are actually still over the 15-minute mark. Okay, now finally knight f3, knight f6, knight d2, and a bishop sack? Okay, so here I'm guessing if d recaptures, that's going to leave white with an issue of these doubled and isolated pawns on the b file. But it's still a bishop just for 1 pawn. D recaptures, clearly. Oh no, knight can take now. Okay, knight takes. So black's got 2 pawns for his bishop. Now all white really wants to do now is to start throwing these pawns up in unison and just try and, kind of minority attack on this side. Create some space that the bishops will be able to exploit later. Okay, oh, nice move. Nice little move from Jonathan there. Bishop into d6. It's an outpost because there's no pawns to trouble it, right? And it's preventing the king from castling. However, now the queens are off the board because we've traded queens. Castling is not as much of an issue as it was. So for me, I think king d7 here. Oh no, but no, you can't do that because the knight's under attack. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Maybe knight here. Get the knight into the centre of the board. It's always a nice thing to do. Oh, knight here with check and a fork on there. Is that the idea, to force an exchange of bishop for knight? That is indeed what happens. Bishop retakes. Okay, so now white no longer has the bishop pair. White is up a knight. I think this move looks tempting. You've got to be careful with this bishop though, behind enemy lines. We'll see. So, okay, yeah, knight e5. And the bishop retreats. And now breaking through. Hang on. But we have 2 attackers, 1 defender. I think, doesn't that just lose material? Takes. And we don't recapture. Okay, but putting the knight here. Okay, so it's saying to white, look, your bishop's now trapped in. Right, it's only got these 2 squares to go on, yeah? But if you want to trade it off and undouble my pawns and give me a nice pair of pawns, then please be my guest. And what, black is having none of that idea, and instead just it makes matters worse and gives the bishop no squares to go to with this. But, so I'm thinking something like this, and then you could even, if you're really determined to trade off that bishop, knight here to d6 with a fork might be possible. White now castles, which is okay. You know, getting the king safe, it's not a bad thing. And black puts the rook on the open file. Okay, good stuff. Does kind of invite this idea. I mean, this bishop has a lot of scope, doesn't it, where it is? But, okay. But in a way, one thing this bishop is doing is preventing the king from castling. So you kind of want to leave it on this diagonal, in a sense. But it could go all the way back to a3, where it's buddied up with this pawn, yeah? That's an idea. But white plays rook f to d1, kind of defending the bishop and also possibly creating opportunities for a discovery. We have knight into d5. Okay, not quite sure what that knight's intentions are. It's blocking the rook's defense of the bishop, but the bishop is still defended by a knight. However, this bishop could take out the knight, and then if pawn recaptures, then we're attacking a knight. So if rook takes, we take a knight. Alternatively, bishop takes knight, knight takes knight, knight number 2 defends the bishop. Remember how I said you need to be careful having your piece behind enemy lines? Well, there we go. But the bishop now retreats. I think I would have been tempted to come all the way back to here, at least just because it's a square that is defended, right? Then you don't have to worry about this bishop. Right now, you have to worry about this bishop getting attacked, right? Possibly by this pawn, possibly by a rook, possibly by the knight at some point, yeah? Okay, black now pushes a pawn, hits the knight. Material is actually equal. Black has all of his pawns on the board, but is down a knight. Knight retreats. King comes out now. Right, so you see here black never bothered to castle because there's no queen. Now, this is on the cards. Question is, which is better, this bishop or this knight? And I don't know. I'm not sure if this bishop with these light squared pawns around the place, lots of 7 of them, 6 of them, is a very good piece. So, what do we see? Okay, so the knight now comes back, pairing with the other knight. Rook advances. This knight now jumps in with check. Okay, so now we have the fork. King has to move, or rook has to take, which ain't going to happen. Now, is white going to capture the bishop and double up the pawns? No. Okay, good. So the king moves, and now these knights are trying to close in on this king here, yeah? Rooks double up. Okay, now we need to be careful. So knight takes knight, for example. If you simply recapture, you lose a rook, yeah? And if rook takes, and it's checkmate. Oh, it's not, because that pawn would be gone. Okay, so white initiates the trade. Rook recaptures, now attacking the bish. So I'm imagining we're going to see rook takes, rook takes. Yeah, it's pretty. You've got to, because otherwise rook takes here and it's forced mate. So you're going to have to take the rook. Oh, nice move. Is it a nice move? Yeah, it is. Because now if rook takes here, we take a rook. So we're up another exchange. Yeah? Rook takes here, rook takes here, rook takes here, knight takes. Nothing wrong with that picture. Rook takes, rook takes, rook. Ooh, does not take. Ha ha ha. What's the idea here? You're not going to take the knight. What's the plan, man? What's the plan? It's not going to take the knight because pawn takes. That's unusual. Okay, and we trade off rooks. So now we are a clear piece in front. Well, white is. But 2 pawns down. So materially only a slight advantage. It tucks the bishop into here. Okay, that's not bad. I mean, it's preventing this pawn and this pawn and this pawn from advancing. Because if either of these two guys move forward, they get snatched off. These bishops are opposite colours. Okay, so now bishop comes here to... with very little purpose, I think. It's kind of defending these, but they were already defended. It's defended twice, but it has moved onto a square where it could be gobbled up by the knight. And with an open board and pawns on either side of the board for both teams, right? Yeah? You want bishops. Bishops are way better than knights. I would trade. Good man. Jonathan trades. Takes. Okay, now we find ourselves in an ending, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, the game goes on for a little bit longer too. So, up a piece, but down a couple of pawns. However, some of these pawns are doubled. And black has only a king and 2 pawn islands to protect. So, what's the most important thing now? Get this king into the center of the board, ASAP. Good. King F1. King comes in, king comes in. Good, good, good. Right? Exactly what you should be doing. And now you might want to start coming in, you know, maybe try and get behind these pawns, or something like this. You want to kind of get the bishop to here, where it's protected by this pawn and defends the pawn itself, and this pawn covers all these squares. So it's actually, if the bishop's here, right, imagine this bishop was, let's just put him on here, right? Imagine that bishop's there, okay? So there's an awful lot of squares that are guarded here. So the only way through for this king would be on the light squares that way, but that is currently guarded by the king. Okay, interesting times. Now, covered, F3 here would force the king to retreat. Yeah, it would. He'd have to come back to one of these squares. That's what I'd do. F3, excellent. Okay. And now, maybe this and bring round here. I don't know. Okay, yes, of course. King D3, excellent. So now the bishop can come here, Pawn pushes. Oh, threats. Or this. And he's got that. Don't know. How do we save the bishop? Come around the long way. Pawn push. Bishop here. This isn't good for black because it undoubles white's pawns, but it also undoubles black's pawns. Okay, E5. Bishop here looking at that pawn. Pawn pushes. Right, now maybe this diagonal might be good. Oh, that's interesting. We're offering up a pawn. Denied. Okay, declines the free pawn. Pushes with check. And now, which way are we going to go? You also really have to start looking at promotion squares as well here. So something like bang, bang to cover that square. Okay, so let's say king here, pawn moves, bang, pawn moves, bang again, and we've got it covered just in time. So, oh, okay, or king blocks. And as we can see, this king here can't get through towards these pawns. Right, so he's going to have to use his pawns, I think. Okay, yep, c4. And push. Ah, push it. And now If black doesn't play this, we have bishop c5, d4. Or even just bishop c5, preventing this. Snatch it off. Could be interesting. What a fascinating game. And now the king heads towards the bishop. I'm not convinced. Okay, and bishop to here. Yeah, kind of. But I don't know, I kind of like that square. King here. There. Bam. King advances. Okay, still preventing either of these pawn pushes. Okay. We may see this from black. But then the bishop's going to come round. I don't know. Black's got all of his pawns on light squares. Okay, but this... What, did he flinch there? Because that pawn's now indefensible. Okay. Why not this? Why not this and just take the material? King here. Bishop back here. I think the bishop behind the pawns makes sense though, because remember, the pawns can only capture forwards, right? So if you get your bishop behind the pawns, you can take them, but they can't take you. So, now pawn pushes, trades, okay. Nice centralized king here is just holding a lot of stuff together. Bishop to here now, if the king moves, we have a discovery against b6. King advances. Don't flinch, keep these pawns where they are, right? Because right now that king cannot come forward at all. So, okay. I mean, yeah, it comes with check. I suppose this is all right because we're still covering these squares. So the king's now going to have to come back to one of these. Goes there. That's a possibility, but no, that would allow the king in there. So what do we do? Bishop retreats. Still guarding this square. So the king still can't come forwards. Pushes. King comes back. Wow. Okay, we're gobbling up some pawns, but this is looking pretty treacherous now, because king here will force the bishop to move. I don't know. But then, I don't know. What's black going to do? King here, coming off to b2, takes pawn, and now b4, he's away. Surely he can't be stopped. Okay, let's go. Comes towards the bishop, and then white moves the king. But why not just like come back here, and then if the pawn comes down, you snatch the pawn off. Okay. And now take the queen. Okay, this is fine. And off goes the b pawn. Right, now we've won the foot race. So now the key is to deliver a bunch of checks. Here, king might take the pawn, don't know, let's see. Check, good. Yes, takes the pawn. Now I would say king here, just to defend these two squares. This king is now trapped on the h-file, cannot move, right? Now what we need to avoid is this pawn moving forwards and stalemating the king. Pawn moves forwards. Okay, now this pawn does have two moves, so this is okay for now. We do have a check. I'll probably keep the queen on there. Okay, yeah, it takes here. And now actually, there's only one legal move, this, and then that's going to be checkmate. Boom, bada boom. Wow. And that's what you get with unrated tournaments, everybody. Being able to have the chance of beating somebody 1,000 points higher rated than you. Well done. Well done. Very enjoyable game. Yeah, and if you're rated in the 900 to 1900 kind of bracket, then that might be useful and helpful for you. But you know, at the same time, it's great for players rated right up toward, you know, in the top 1%, 0.5% of players on chess.com to have a go and you know, let sub 1,000 players have a crack at them as well. So all good fun. Hope the players enjoyed it. I hope hey bye bye didn't take that personally. I'm sure it didn't. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later.